me. Everybody say that they know me, they only see me on the cover of a Vogue and they clone me. We cannot be friends cause I like being lonely. I'm a boss, tell them not today. Swerving on these chickens, cluck out my lane. I'm a boss, out my way. Or just do everything.
All right, you have joined us for Successfully Chaotic, and we have Chris Maggard from Creepy Attic Productions. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, hello. How you doing?
All right, so Chris, you are in the production business, so you're in filming.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started?
Actually, it started late 80s in California after I graduated high school. My neighbor, the kid I went to school with, his brother was a stunt guy.
Yeah.
So I started hanging out with him, doing live stunt shows, and it just progressed. And it started working into films, and then I became a PA. So I was just basically, and if anybody doesn't know, a production assistant is a guy that does everything. You know, someone wants water, coffee, whatever. That was my job.
So you're the gopher.
Exactly. And that's the term for a gopher. So that's what I did, and I was bit. I was bit by the film bug. And, fast forward so many years. I mean, I worked on a few small films when I lived in California. And my boss, his name was Nick Planico, who has Action Unlimited production company. He's still in California. We'll be talking more about him later. But he's the one that kind of got me going. And I worked 14, 16, 18 hours on sets. And, if it wasn't for him, I would have never had a passion for film, and no telling where I'd be today. Fast forward now, that's where I'm at today, working on small productions and stuff like that. So that's how it all started out in California.
Okay. Well, that sounds amazing. I've not really been around the film industry very much other than just kind of being on set for a couple of commercials. But yeah, I can't even imagine all the stuff that you have to go through. And I know you mentioned to me, we did a little bit of a kind of pre-interview just to figure out what we were going to talk about. And you mentioned a phrase to me that kind of stuck with me, as you said that the Murphy's Law of the movie set. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Murphy's Law of the movie set. No matter how much you prepare your pre-production, your shot lists, your call sheets, it doesn't matter what you have. You can think you have everything covered and something will go wrong. We're going to shoot this scene. It's going to take us about 3 hours. No, it'll turn into 8 hours, 10 hours, because either the actor doesn't like how he's delivering his lines, or the director's like, no, we need the lighting change. Murphy's Law lives on movie sets. So nothing goes according to plan, and especially it gets more chaotic. Hence,
yeah.
And if you go over that budget, everybody's upset. Everybody's getting chaotic. Everybody's going haywire, and Murphy's Law is in full effect. So it happens.
It does. And then that's something we talk about a lot here, obviously. Just the fact that you can't plan for the chaos. You think you can. And I'm always pro trying to plan, because if you just go into it thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to wing it, that may work a couple of times, but most of the time it's going to blow up in your face. Mm-hmm. But you also have to be ready to roll with the punches, because there's so many things in our whole life that you just can't plan for. That's the chaos of life.
Exactly.
So specifically, are there some setbacks that you have experienced during your career?
Honestly, you might be out there working on a film set for 12 hours or 16 hours or whatever, but then life says, hey, excuse me, you got some other things you need to take care of. And that always happens. But like my first feature film, I had everything planned out. And my DP, which is the cameraman, if anybody wants to know, things didn't work out. And I've come to find out in the film industry, DPs, aka cameraman, a lot of them think they're the god, because they're the one capturing the image.
Yeah.
Their eye. But when I had to deal with this cameraman, he set us back big time. Cost us more money because he quit on the job. He didn't under contract constraints, He signed up for 12-hour days. He was there maybe sometimes for 5 or 6. Costing me to lose scenes. My first feature film, Rosalie, there's probably about 10 to 20 made it in the film. So that cost us a lot. And then in the end, what he shot didn't work out. So we had to find a different place to rent this place, pay people to come there, catering. So that was a huge setback. And hence Murphy's Law stepped right into place.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a lesson learned from my first feature film as a director and producer. And so after that, I've learned a lot. And now I try to nip a lot of it in the butt right now before we film something else. So that was a huge setback.
About Rosalie, let's talk a little bit about where the idea for that came from, and maybe where our listeners could find it if they're interested in finding out more about it.
Yeah, well, Rosalie came from an idea. There's actually a school up there in Middletown, Ohio. It's called Poasttown Elementary School. It's abandoned now. It's open for ghost tours and stuff like that. And there's a rumor there, or a story, of a little girl that passed away from that school back in the 1950s. She actually did fall down the back stairs, but she didn't die there. She later died from injuries at home. And then I took that idea, and then I took these paranormal TV shows idea, especially one with, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say their name because of rights, but they're on a channel that talks about traveling.
Okay.
And they love to do adventures.
There we go. I think we can figure that one out.
Bingo. So the main guy, he thinks everything is getting possessed. So I just it's over the top. I'm like, okay, so what if someone like him actually ran into a real demon? What would happen? And then I took the story of the little girl, and I took that idea, and especially so many people in the paranormal field, they just think they're God. So I'm just like, oh, my God. So I just took all that and put it together and created Rosalie. And the wife and I and our makeup artist were driving down the freeway, and the wife and I were talking about a name, and Rosalie just somehow came out of the topic, and that's what stuck.
That's a good name.
Spell it.
It's good. It's good stuff. With that, you have won some awards for Rosalie. I do know that. Can you tell us, where that all came from, how that happened?
Yeah, you know what? I have to be honest with you. Rosalie is not the greatest film in the world, okay? It's my first, and it's on a micro budget.
Yeah.
And when I mean micro budget. So I didn't think I would win anything, but I entered in film festivals, and we won 2 awards at the Las Vegas International Film Festival for Best Horror Film. And we won another one for Best Horror Film, the Tri-City International Film Festival. And that was in Washington State. And then we won another award, but we never got an award. So one film festival was like, yeah, you won, but we don't send out trophies or certificates.
We just clap for you. Good job.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And
you can still claim it, right?
Right. And then we've been selected in film festivals probably about 7 times. So official selection, AKA nomination. So
that's good. That's amazing.
For a film that I had no idea what I was doing as a director, first time director, not bad. I'm not going to lie.
Not bad at all. So if our listeners are interested in finding out more about Rosalie, where would they go to find that out?
It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Tubi. There's something behind me because you're not waving at me. I know that.
No, she loves me more.
I know. There's a live streams now. You can find Rosalie. You can also order it on Walmart, Best Buy, Target, Barnes & Noble, the DVD. So it's available in a lot of places now.
That's amazing. So congratulations on all of that. What are you working on now? I know you've got a project going on now. What is that?
Well, actually, before I get into that, we just wrapped on another short film. It's / music video for Ashley Warhol and her band Warhol out of Texas. We shot 3 films or 3 music videos for her already.
That's awesome. But
we just did a short with her called Amazing Grace. We're getting ready to enter that in film festivals, which I directed and produced and edited. Right now, though, the big project we're working on, and I want a lot of your listeners to understand this project. It's a true story that happened in Ohio, where a father 30 years ago found out his ex-wife put their 13-year-old daughter in a sex trafficking. And when he found out, he snapped. And he staked them out for 2 months, find out their activities. And when he got his daughter for his visitation, told her to stay home, he went over and murdered his ex-wife and her boyfriend, putting his daughter in a sex trafficking ring. Well, he got 2 life terms for that. He was in Mansfield State Prison, and they transferred him. Found out about this story because a coworker of mine, she actually interviewed him right before he died. He's been dead for 1.5 years now. But the thing about the story is because it's a very powerful, and people need to understand sex trafficking in Ohio, Kentucky is really huge in the United States.
Yeah,
it's one of the biggest areas for sex trafficking because of the 75 freeway, which goes from Canada all the way down to Florida. So when he murdered his ex-wife, he chopped them up into little 1-inch squares. And so that's why he got the heinous of the crime was we gave him 2 life terms plus premeditated. And during the interview, this girl that interviewed him, she asked why he did it. He says, for the love of my daughter, which gave us the title of the film. So right now I have my old buddy, Nick Planico, who used to be my boss, the one I talked about in California. He is now my stunt coordinator for this film and also a producer. And right now he's working out a preliminary of the budget. We have the script about done, the final draft, and we're going to start sending this package deal out for investors to invest in this film. And there's a lot that's good. But this story needs to be told because of the awareness of sex trafficking and the heroin epidemic, which was all involved in that situation.
I agree. That's a big deal. That's a big story. And, my heart just, when you were telling that story about that dad, I mean, it's hard to imagine not feeling that way if you found out that your child was being treated like that, abused like that, and sadly by the hands of her own mother. I can't even imagine. Right. But, that sounds like a big project. So have you already picked out a cast for that, or what's kind of the next steps on that?
We do have our leads. We have Vernon George Wells, if anybody knows who he is. He is in Mad Max, not Mad Max, but the second one, Road Warrior, with Mel Gibson, the guy on the motorcycle with the mohawk.
Okay, yeah.
That's him. He was also basically the same character in oh God, what's the name of it? I can't remember it right now. God, I'll figure it out. But he was also in Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's been in a lot of movies. Then we have Costas Mandylor, who was the detective in the Saw movies. And then we have Robert Mukes, who's 6'10".
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He was the brother in the House of Thousand Corpses, the one that drove the tow truck. So we have them set out, and hopefully we have Kate Hodge still on board. She's been in a lot of movies like Blue Blood, or TV shows Blue Blood, CSI, and stuff like that. And then we have not Costas, already said him, but Rosalie, but he's also been on Walking Dead and quite other few shows. So that's our key actors right now. So we're going to be casting people for secondary roles, backup actors, and, background actors, stuff like that.
So how do you go about doing that? Is that something that you kind of announce locally and people come and try out and see you? Or like if somebody was like, wow, I've always wanted to be in a film and I think I might be a good fit for this, how would they find out about it?
Well, there's a process. We actually look for a process. We look for people who's been acting quite a while and the type of style they act. And then we'll put out a call for casting. And they can submit. First, they'll submit. They can do a video submission, and then if we like it, then we'll ask them to come in and do a read. And if we like that, then we'll call them back and say, okay, this is what you got, and then we set up everything else from there. But we're going to definitely do it locally because we're going to film in Kentucky because Kentucky has a good tax incentive for filmmaking, and also we like to keep it local, bring money into our own state, keep money in our own state.
And that's an awesome thing. Economic development in some of these areas, people kind of underestimate that sometimes. And I mean, I'm all for, utilizing people we know and like and trust. And sometimes they may be all over the place. I mean, you got to do that some, right. But, to be able to keep the stuff that you're not really sure what you want to do with it, you definitely can keep that local, Oh, yeah. And I love that. I love that helps drive economic growth and kind of keeps it all in the family. So have you like what's kind of talking about kind of the chaos and the Murphy's Law, like, can you kind of lay out just, I mean, high level, because most of us are not in the film world, but how do you try to plan enough to try to avoid all of those mishaps and the chaos? And I mean, I know there's some stuff you just can't plan for, but what does your kind of to-do list to avoid some of that stuff look like?
I mean, I sit there when we're in, like, if we're going to do a film or something like that, we try to lay out everything from A to Z on our pre-production. We have pre-production meetings, and let me tell you what, I'm not a big filmmaker. I'm not at that status yet. I'm not at a George Lucas status or a Spielberg status by any means, even though I idolize them. I still have a normal job. So there's part of the chaos, balancing the film industry and balancing a normal job and keeping home life in a nice smooth pattern that's total chaos right there. That's hard because above all, first off, you got to take care of your home. You got to take care of your family. You got to take care of your bills. So you got to keep your job. If the next film we make turns around to be very profitable and that launches us enough to make another one, full-time filmmaking. But for now, get off work. I stay up late hours, try to, like I just finished that Amazing Grace one I was telling you about that we're going to put in film festivals. I was getting off work, editing, writing everything down I need to do, making sound tracks, just overlays and that. And then when we're working on another film, a small short film, we got another one coming up, pre-production, got to do phone calls and meetings and like that. And then on the weekends, hopefully drive an hour and a half down to Louisville and meet with the rest of the crew that we're associated with. That's Creative Motion Studios and Renegade Art Productions and Dark Star TV, who are all based out of Louisville. We have to all meet down there. Everything gets laid out. So there's a lot of work. And it's so tiring, and your body starts to break down. And you're just like, oh, my God, I need a break. And then you get home, you're like, oh, I got to do that. I got to fix that. So it's total chaos constantly. And I always feel Murphy's Law is it's like, I'm right behind you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I know you are. I'm trying to keep you at bay. But anything can happen. Anything can happen. I mean, water heater goes out. Knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen. But, you're just trying to think, oh, I can't film this day because I got to take care of this.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, we may not 100% know what it's like in the film industry itself for the chaos, but I think a lot of us are business owners and entrepreneurs, and we understand chaos. We understand that balancing act. And, there's something I say on a regular basis that, I don't think it's ever gets balanced. For the longest time, I was waiting for this. Well, when I get this done, then it'll be balanced. Oh, wait, when I get to this point, then it's going to be balanced. But every time you get to that point, there's just something else to unbalance it. So I've come to the conclusion that it's never going to be this 50-50 balance. It's actually more like the balloon game. You ever play the balloon game as a kid? We get the balloons in the air and you're just like running around popping them up, trying to keep them from hitting the ground. Yeah. It's more like that.
It is.
I mean, it's just your goal is just not to let the balloons hit the ground. They're never going to be even in the air, and sometimes one's going to get pretty darn close to hitting the ground because that's how it is. It's like, through my entire, career. I mean, I used to work for another company before I went out on my own, and I did a lot like you did. And honestly, I'm just now this year getting to the point that I would have probably been able to just solely live off my income because for years before that, there's no way I could have lived off. I was paying out more, in taxes and all that stuff than I was even thinking about making. So, a lot of these people think, oh, I'm going to become a business owner because then I can quit my job and da-da-da. No, that's not how it works. I mean, for the longest time, you're paying to have that business. You're paying to go to work every day.
Yep.
It's costing you. And so that's why there has to be a passion for what you're doing, because if you're going to start a business and it's not something you love and enjoy, don't do it.
No, exactly. You're actually right. And that's the thing. You just said something that Elena's always scared about. She's never been like a business owner. She's never been involved in the film industry. She's starting to learn it now. But she's like, God, we're paying out more. I says, yeah, I know. And that's the hard thing about starting a business. Creepy Attic Productions actually been in business since 2010, but officially was 3 years on the books. So And everything you do, anything that's related to the business, I don't care if you're driving down the street and you have to get gas or buy a candy bar, that's all. If it has something to do with the business, you keep those receipts. You got tax write-offs. You got to think about your taxes. How are you going to do the tax at the end of the year? You do it quarterly, or you're going to do it, by every other quarter, or you're going to do it yearly. It's just like there's so much paperwork. We can go out there and film all day long and have a great time filming, and but at the end of the day, you got to worry about the business. You got to worry about how you're going to get money to come back in. And usually, anybody that starts a business, you're not making money until a year, maybe 2 years down the road. Because
usually it's about 3. It's like on average, because I consult a lot of companies. On average, you see, you're going in the hole for the first 3 years. And if you're not going in the hole during the first 3 years, you won the lottery, because you're typically going in the hole that first 3 years is like a wash. And that's the reason more businesses go out of business in that first 3 years than ever, is because they think it's not working, because they're not making money yet. And it might not be, sometimes it might just be they haven't crested that hump yet. Right. And sometimes maybe it is a terrible idea. Maybe there's something broken in it and it needs fixed, but more often than not, the stuff I see is like they get scared and they quit right before they would have kind of come out ahead. And I mean, I know it's tempting. I mean, I've been there where I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm completely done, because, I have, everybody here already knows I have 7 kids, and I have a husband, and I have a home, and I have a couple of businesses, more than one at this point. And, I have employees, which are, I love them to death, but they're kind of like kids sometimes, because they're messaging me all day long, needing stuff, so it's just like, I feel like everybody's just like wanting something, and then I'm exhausted, so I've had my low moments where I sit there and I'm like, I'm done. I quit everything. I'm completely done. This is not worth my mental stability at this point, and I think if everybody's honest with themselves, we've all been there at least once. For me, it ends up being like once a month, that I'm like, all right, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm exhausted. But some of the things that I've started doing, and maybe you've kind of got there too, is I've started noticing there was a lot of things early on in my business that I was doing that I really didn't need to do. Like it was just for nothing, really. Like I kept thinking that I had to be at every single networking meeting that I was involved in, and I had to be at every single one because I couldn't miss. And, I was putting a lot of the pressure on myself. Now there's some stuff, that the pressure is just going to be there no matter what, but that added unnecessary pressure, I let that go. It's, and I had to kind of get my priorities in line, because I would kind of jump back and forth on a lot of the things for a long time. You've probably been there too, especially, you're balancing, family life too. But it seems like with the kind of the chaos of life, once it seems like everything's running smooth in the family, you think, okay, I could put a little bit more time into the business. And then you kind of start putting a little bit more time in the business. Well, then you start to notice, okay, well, family isn't doing as good, but the business is doing better. So you just end up having to just go back and forth and back. And it is exhausting. But I think that's just, like I said, it's just a balloon game. It's, you pop that balloon up high enough that it's good for a little bit, so you can focus on the other one that was about to hit the ground. Exactly. But you just got to make sure that you're paying attention to those balloons and making sure that, your priorities are in line. And that can be hard, especially when you're the one that had the dream for your business, because it does become such a big part of you. And it's really hard for people in your life to see that sometimes, because it wasn't their vision. It wasn't their dream. They've just kind of got sucked into your dream. So I don't know if you've experienced that, but
right. And it's like you said, up to 2 to 3 years of the business. Like I have friends that told me they want to get into the restaurant business or bar business. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not trying to shoot your dream down, but don't think about making any money until at least 2 years. At least 2 years, you might start seeing a profit. Everything else has to go right back into the business. And I say, in restaurants especially, they're the toughest, because you got to have a unique style of food, and they hardly. When people open up a new restaurant, you'd be lucky to see them a year later. Yeah. If they make it past that first year stretch, they got a niche. Then they just got to get past the second year. If they get past the second year, they're doing all right, and just hold on. You probably start flowing better. And it's the same way with the film industry. I think the film industry is a little hard because you're building a brand. And with any company, it's your brand. You got to build that brand. And once that brand's built, you got to push it out there, and you got to be 100% behind that brand. You just can't put it out there and hopefully it'll take off. No, you got to be there pushing it. And so, and that's with any business. You're building a brand. So the branding is what starts first. And then once you get that built and that reputation built up, then you hopefully can start flowing. But it is definitely hard. It's the building of the blocks in the beginning. Like you said, bouncing those balloons too. So, you get your blocks to build, and then you're bouncing the balloon, pure chaos. But if you have faith in yourself and you believe in yourself, that's the very first part. You got to believe in yourself. And you can't be working with people that are going to be going against your belief. They got to be supportive, and they're with you. And like when I first did Rosalie, the first feature film, I sat down with Elena. And for the people who wonder who Elena was, that was the lady behind me, my wife, that was there. But she didn't understand it. She questioned everything that I was doing, and she had 100% all rights to do that. And I said, if this doesn't work out at all, then you know what? Good. But we'll stop it and we won't go any further. But it turned out, and we got awards and we got nominations. So, and now we're building. We have a network we work with now, and it's growing and growing. So it's taking time.
It does. It takes time. But having that support, you mentioned, her being not really 100% understanding it, maybe question a little bit because she was scared, which I think is all normal feelings, but she still supported you. And I'd say that went a long way, because I have talked to some business owners that they didn't get that support. So not only are they trying to do this like juggling balancing act that we're all trying to do, but they're also hitting a wall at every turn. And that can be really hard. So, I mean, I think it's great that you had that support system. Did that feel like it helped you be able to succeed more? It
did, because, there was moments while we were on set, I just had to walk off because I was battling with my DP, and I just had to walk off and just kind of put my hands on my head and just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't deal with this. I don't have a contingency plan. And Elena was right there putting her hands on my back and saying, it's going to be okay. Just believe, believe, believe. She kept saying, believe, don't give up, keep believing. And that's what kept me going.
And that's awesome.
If it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have got through it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. That means a lot, I'm sure, to you and to her both. One thing I like to do with the guests that I have on, it seems kind of silly and cliche, but I do it anyway because I think it's super important to do, is if you could go back at any point in time in your life and just tell yourself a few things that you would want yourself to know. And I know we all say that, and some people pick silly things, and that's fine too. I'm all about being silly. But a lot of times, especially with this, we think, something that may make you start your business sooner than you did, or make you not make some of the huge mistakes. I know early on in my business, I made it cost me a lot of money, some giant mistakes, because I didn't know. And you don't know what you don't know. So what are, 3, 5, whatever, I don't care about the number. What are a few things that, you would go back and tell yourself?
It's funny. I started laughing when you said this.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually writing a short story right now called Identity, of 3 different me's. One, what if I stuck with the music career when I lived in California? Or what if I went to college for architect, what I liked? Or is it okay to stay on the path I'm on now? So it's funny you said that. That's why I started laughing, because I'm writing back and say, leave that music career alone. Stop playing the bands. Go ahead and stay with the film industry, because that's your passion. That's where your passion is. That's where your heart belongs. When I was in the music industry for a little bit out in California, I got the rock star head trip, and it didn't go well.
Yeah.
And my own band that I created kicked me out. So lesson learned there. I would go back and tell that guy, look, stick with Nick, stay in the film industry. You're going to go places, because it's where your heart belongs. The architect guy, I don't know. I always had the desire to build things, but I don't think that was the main thing. That my heart wasn't 100% there. So I would have gone back. Definitely would say, look, learn your cameras. Learn your thing about owning a business and growing, and stop worrying about what's next piece of arse you're going to try to get a hold of, or how much alcohol you're going to drink that weekend. Stop that right now, because what's more important is following your heart, and your heart is in the but the film industry, because I love telling stories, and I love hearing true stories, and I love bringing that to life. So I thought, someone asked me couple months ago, what kind of genre of filmmaking do you want to stick with? And because Creepy Act Productions, when you hear that, you're thinking horror films. And it was just like, I thought it would be horror films. But, there's a couple I want to do, a couple more I have sitting on the back burner. But I like true stories. I like life stories. If I can make someone feel happy and proud and warm inside, that means a lot to me. Horror films are easy. You go out there and throw some blood around, and they're easy money makers. But I think my genre is pushing me towards life stories. True
and
life
life
stories.
can be messy. I mean, obviously. So, there may be some messy stuff within there too, but I like that. I mean, even within my marketing, my consulting business, kind of my brand within that is storytelling, because every brand, I don't care if you're selling plungers or, if you're actually, doing films or whatever, everything starts with a story. The reason why starts with a story. So our brand, when we think of a brand, a lot of times we think of logos, so you think of the Apple brand, you think of the Apple, or you think of like Amazon brand, you think of like Smile, but brands are so much more than logos. They're actually a promise. So when you look at those logos, you might automatically recognize that brand because of the logo, but that's not their brand. Their brand's their business promise, their why of their business. So it's their story. And a lot of companies are starting to grasp that now and starting to really tie into that, because we talked about earlier that we do business with people we know, like, and trust, so sometimes it takes us outside of our economic, local area. And that's 100% true. But another reason that we do business is because we make a connection with someone. And that can be obviously personally, because I've met you and I like you, but it can also be because whatever I'm watching has touched me emotionally and automatically created that connection. So I may never have met you a day in my life, but I'm like, wow. Okay, yeah, he gets it,
Right.
I got a good example. I had never heard of the Josh Sellers wine before, ever. I love red wine. I'd never heard of it before. And I don't know if you've seen the commercial that they came out with, that he talks about his father and how his father made wine, and how it's very emotionally touching. It shows old pictures of his dad. It draws you in to it, because it captures the why, not just, hey, we have this wine, it's so amazing, come try some, but just the fact that his dad made the wine, and he started making the wine because of his love for his dad, and he wanted to enjoy something that his dad enjoyed. And you know what? The next time I was at the store and I seen Josh Sellers, I recognized it and I bought 2 bottles of it, because I'm like, I want to try this wine that he created because his dad loved the wine. There was hundreds of bottles of wine, but those are the ones that I went for. And it wasn't because they won this or did this or had 5 stars or whatever. All that stuff's great, whatever, but it was because I wanted to taste it because of the story. I wanted to experience it because of the story. And I think a lot of us are very much driven now to understand that life's so much more than just stuff, it's about experiences. So, and I may have never met his dad, and I don't know, him either, but I felt like I got to know a piece of him from that commercial. And every time I get his wine, I feel good about it, because it's almost like sharing an experience with somebody that I've never even met. So I really like that your drive is more storytelling. And, maybe that ends up leading in, because maybe it was a horrible horror, whatever story, stories can be terrible and messy and yucky and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I really like that drive, because I think you'll be able to connect with a lot more people if you're touching people's stories. I love that.
And we're even thinking about rebranding the company name. We're still going to keep Creepy Act Productions because it's been around and we own it. Cover all genres. We were, and me and Elena were thinking about it, like, well, let's think of something that's personal and very powerful to us. And we got a name coming. We're probably going to rebrand that and, bring the new LLC out pretty soon. But, the thing is, like that story about the wine, that's backing up that their brand, the branding, that kept the promise behind their branding. And if you can keep the promise of your work, I think that shows more than any more logo. It's what's behind it and the development of what's behind it. And actions speak louder than words. And And if you cannot back up your actions and you just have a bunch of words, probably not really a good person to work with. But if you can, then that's all the better. And I feel that in my heart. And I try to tell people that. I mean, I'm 51 years old, finally starting to live my dream. It's work. I'm working my arse off, but it's work, and it's work that I love. It just takes time. And Elena, she's 100% scared, but now that she's worked on a few sets, she's like, she got bit.
Yeah.
She got bit by the film bug. She's like, oh, I love this. And and it's long hours.
Yeah.
It's long hours being on set, but you're creating something. And when you see it come together, it's so beautiful. That we just shot. It was supposed to be a music video, then turned into a 20-minute short film. And when we were filming it, I cried on set because the way my direction came out and I saw it come to life in front of me, I was like, holy crap, this is beautiful. If it made me cry, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's so powerful of a message of homeless people hooked on drugs and a chance. Someone's going to give you a chance to turn your life around. So that's it's another message. And I'm glad to have our brand on that.
Where would our listeners be able to find that? Is it out yet, or is it?
It's not out yet.
Okay.
I'm waiting for actually, and then I got to give a shout out to Ashley Warhol and their band Warhol out of Texas, because their band is so amazing. You guys can Google L and you'll find them. They're anywhere on the internet, and they're kind of like Evanescence, the band Evanescence. I mean, they're just absolutely amazing and such beautiful, wonderful people. And we've been working with them for a few years now, and I just had to give a shout out to them, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have made this beautiful story, Amazing Grace. We're going to make an announcement next week about where the Amazing Grace is going. It's actually going to a lot of film festivals.
Okay. Where are you going to make that announcement? If somebody wants to follow you online or on social media, what would they go to?
Yeah, we're going to do it on social media outlets. We're going to be doing it through Facebook, obviously.
Under what name, though? Is that under Creepy Attic Productions, or what is it?
It'll be under Ashley Warhol.
Okay.
And Warhol. She's the one making that.
Okay.
She's the boss on this one. I produced it and directed it and edited it. It was her and her father, Larry, who wrote this. They both acted in it, too, and they did amazing. So it's under her direction to when she's going to announce it. So anybody wants to look up Warhol on Facebook or Ashley Warhol, that's a WORHOL on Facebook, you'll be able to see them. As soon as she announces it, I will announce it under the Creepy Attic Productions Facebook page, as well as my Instagram, Chris Maggard on Instagram, and my Facebook page as well. We'll be announcing what's going to be happening with that. It's a beautiful story. I might actually share the link with you.
That'd be good. I would love that. Yeah, and I can make sure that everybody gets it.
Yeah, it's actually a beautiful story.
I'm excited to see it.
It's good. It's out of the realm. This is why I kind of figured this is where I'm going with it, because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good, and it's from Rosalie, a bloody demonic possession type movie, to a Christian type story. I'm covering all sides of the spectrum there. So
you know what? That's life, though. Life is all sides of the spectrum. So
absolutely.
That's great. I love that. I really enjoyed having you here today. I'm going to go ahead and let you off of here. And when we drop this, listeners, you'll be able to have the direct links to get to all the social media pages that Chris mentioned. I'll make sure you have those direct links on there. And I enjoyed having you all here. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
I'm a boss. Tell them not today. Swerving on these chickens, cluck out my lane. I'm a boss. Out my way. I just do every little thing that I say. I'm the freaking greatest. I'm the rage they exclamated. LA Times, I stay on page 6. I'm even your favorite's favorite. You better tell them who's the boss, me. You